Okay, welcome back. You've actually missed out on about 10 minutes of us trying to get the stream to work properly. I hadn't realised that the sound had been cutting out, but that was a problem with live stream and Procaster rather than the microphone here. But we now seem to have it sorted. And so you're back. We're about to do chapter 20 of Annals of Fear. This one is called Source Room. And I have about 4 people in chat at the moment, but I only know about Rooney Bear and Alex Brooke Stardust. So off we go. Source Room. The kitchen felt like an oasis of peace. The door could be shut and the electric light illuminated every corner. The sound of the kettle boiling almost blocked out the battering of the footsteps on the floor above. Matt bowed down, his hands on his knees, while he recaptured his breath. The sentry busied himself with the preparation of cups of tea. Deontic scurried to the sink because she thought she was going to throw up, but she didn't. Mello loitered behind Matt, his eyes on the laptop camera feeds, his hands on his husband's back. But they'd not so much run as hurtled down stairs and corridors from the top of the house back to this spot. Croeso Gymru, sentry muttered forlornly. How are you enjoying my country so far? There was no response. He surveyed them all in turn. How is everybody? Deontic turned away from the sink. I've got Stitch. She looked at Mello. Is anything happening? Yeah, Mello replied. The ghost of Johan Prothero is running to the roof over and over again. Just the one? The sentry frowned, because it sounded like a whole herd of them to me. Mello shook his head. Listen carefully, it's just one tread. It's just overlaid upon itself in a loop. But it's just the one. People run at different speeds and their weight and fitness means that their footsteps vary. Didn't you listen to us coming down? No, I was too busy running. Matt stood up and then walked across to sit on a stool. He lit a cigarette. Mello took that as his cue to pace again. I'm so close. I almost know what happened here. I just need to solve the puzzle. Not if I solve it first, Sentry countered. Mello glared, but Sentry was only articulating what everybody in that room was thinking. Mello's smile wasn't polite. I'll see you at the finishing line. I'll be waiting. Matt blew a cloud of smoke. Count me out. What? Mello smiled, turned on him. If this is turned into another version of Whammy's house, count me out. He took another deep drag. I did my time in deduction class. Sentry was unconvinced. Count you out? Really? Deontic rushed to stand beside Matt and inspect the monitors. Mello and I were so close to working this out when the noise started. We were? Mello snapped, incredulous to her presumption. I was. Sentry stared. You pair to be working together? Matt growled, his hands coming up from behind his head, which bowed down to the tabletop. His cigarette was burned between his fingers, and his words came out as a growling moan. No importa! What doesn't? Mello bristled. Us in competition? Yes, it does. They were here in a futile attempt to take my case off me, and trust me, it matters. I do trust you, Matt hissed, sitting up. There! I answered to the fucking name. Have you got a victory? Now can we look at the bigger case all together? Mello blinked, startled. I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't saying it matters as a noun. I was stating it. The trust me was a conditional. He faltered. Come on, Matt, you knew that. Some things have ambiguity in the English language. You knew that. Deontic raised her hands. Stop it. Her hands flailed in the air. It's happening again. It's under our skin and it's in our minds. Why are we suddenly arguing? We were working together before. We were pooling resources and then we went upstairs together. Her gaze stopped at Mello. I didn't flee to my car. I came with you. Mello deflated a little, picking up his chocolate and sitting down. Matt reached for his PSP. Sentry made the tea. Deontic just swallowed and sat down too. The silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the incessant running above their heads. Sentry eventually sighed. Is that the pad full of conditional obligation formulas, is it? You working out what this place is doing to our minds? Yes, Deontic replied. There was another short silence. How did you know that? It's obvious. Sentry handed out their cups of tea and planted the sugar bowl in the middle. Mello takes the overview and develops the strategy. I look at the history. Matt deals with the technical stuff. You focus on the abstracts, the responses, the reactions, the permissions. We focus on what our obsessions are. She shrugged. She'd give him that. Mello exhaled loudly. He coughed and straightened a little. Back to Sentry's initial question. Is everybody all right? No, Deontic sniffed. I'm scared to death and my origami paper is in the other room. Sentry slid a notepad down the table towards her. Paper? Mello took a small bite of chocolate. Let me tell you where I've got to. He quickly apprised Matt and Sentry of the earlier conversation before the reinstatement of activity had interrupted their flow. I'm leading towards there having been a ritual of some kind in the room upstairs, which damaged the furniture and the carpet. No, Matt paused his game. How about we think of that room as the place where the album was recorded? Explain. They took out all their furniture because it was dampening the sound, plus they need to fit themselves and all of their instruments in there, and that included a drum kit. He nodded towards the inner door. That always bothered me about your information, that they recorded it in there. The room's too big with too much furniture in it. The sound would just die. Having said that, it would be really echoey in an empty bedroom. To be honest, none of those rooms are great for recorded music in. Mello stared at him. Fucking hell, Matt, why didn't I think of that? The chocolate became static between his teeth for a moment, and then Mello grinned and bit through it. Yes! He leapt off his stool and paced as he spoke, eyes shining at the solution. That's what they've been trying to tell us all along. The footsteps. They've been happening on that floor. And if we check to see if they start from that room? Deontic shook her head. It's too hard to tell. It's on a layered loop. Each layer is in a different place. But, Mello pointed at her, spinning around. Oh, God, yes. Mother Mary was placed on the top of the stairs as if to say, look up here. And then she was placed in the corridor. But where was she facing? Towards that room. Maya's ghost, where did she lead us to? Into that room. That room had always been key. And that's why they keep trying to show it to us. Matt pursed his lips. You're implying sentience on the part of the ghosts. Mello nodded. Yes, I am. He stalked around the table. Sentry, go and shout up to Yoan that we've solved the puzzle. He can stop running now. The teenager winced. Why me? Because I don't speak Welsh. Sentry sneered. Neither would he be. You said he was from Cardiff. They don't speak Welsh down there. They're more English than they... Well, go and tell him in English then. Mello hesitated. They could see his mind racing. It was his stance and the distance in his eyes as he looked inwards. Then he jolted into activity. I'm going to look at that room. He took off towards the door with Sentry half a beat behind him. Matt shuffled off his stool and followed at a more leisurely pace, only just overtaken at the door by Deontic, who'd started running the second she saw him moving. Matt smirked. Nervous, Dee? Like you aren't, she countered, though he appeared perfectly calm. Mello reached the top of the stairs. He laughed aloud at the still thundering footsteps. Stop now, you and Prothero. We know about the room. We know that you recorded the album in there. He placed his hand on the doorknob by way of illustration. Stop now, we get the message. Stop here now, Sentry added, as Matt and Deontic caught up behind him. The footsteps didn't stop. The corridor was icy around them. As Mello turned the knob, the music started. It was loud and furious. Maya Gustafssoff's soprano soaring above it. Mello fell back from the door, turned a shocked face toward his equally stunned company. Only many years of Whammy's house training stopped any one of them from running. They all felt as a deep certainty that opening the door would reveal the band itself. They could hear the deep scraping tones of Yoan's cello, his fingers working hard on the pickups. Rasmus and Michael speeding up the backbeat as if duelling him musically. Then Jan's electric guitar swathing in. It was loud and passionate, but it was still amateur. The steel rose in Mello's will. He rushed back from the wall against which he had stumbled and raged towards the door. His army boot kicked upwards, square against the panelling. He entered with a roar. "We hear you!" he yelled, and everything stopped. It all stopped. The music, the footsteps, everything just stopped. The room was empty from ceiling to floorboards. There was nothing to see but the camera on its tripod which they had placed there. Mello snarled. Mile, I want that footage. He kicked at the walls, narrowly missing the radiator. He leapt up at the windowsill, catching it with both hands, and then leaning forward to peer out of the window. The Welsh countryside spread out in darkness, but with the river rushing beneath. He caught the reflection of a woman's face, and the glass reared back, but it was only Deontic standing in the centre of the room. He rounded on her. What's he? What was there in here? Deontic's hands were clasped together as she looked round. I don't know yet. Behind her, Sentry walked in, looked at a wall, and then drifted out again. Mello blinked. Has Matt gone downstairs alone? He bolted forward. Has he gone to get the... He almost collided with the redhead in the doorway. You stay the fuck with me. Matt gestured helplessness in the face of Mello's contradictory orders, but his husband just grabbed his hand and pulled him into the room. They didn't touch the camera this time. It's 16th century, Sentry muttered, walking back in with a pensive look on his face. The Georgians built it that way. He pointed back towards the wall, beyond which lay the staircase. Renovated, but where? Something frightened them, Deontic mused. Something frightened them in here. She glanced at the door. Ewan ran out there. He ran upstairs and carried on running up to the roof. Why not stop further down the corridor or on the floor above? He ran past the stairs. Mello looked out of the window again. The river's below. Maya was found in the river. Jan was found by the river. He inspected the sash windows. They could be raised. Did they jump? He was looking upon a small garden. A gate and a dry stone wall would have to be traversed before a climb down the hillside to the river below. No, they couldn't have landed in the river from this window. Matt pointed. My guess is the drum kit was in that corner. It wouldn't have been next to the door. It would have been out of the way, and it would have maximised the space. Mello followed the direction of his gaze. It would have made sense for the bassist to be near the drummer. Michael and Rasmus were over there, no easy way to escape. Jan and Maya by the window, maybe they jumped into the garden, it's only one story to fall. Ewan was near the door, so he fled. Conjecture, Mello, Deontic warned. Conjecture and speculation. No, Mello gasped. It wasn't the centre of the room. He paced forward beside Deontic, dragging Matt after him. I've been imagining he came up here, but he came to the window. Gracky ribbon flies. She came in and she went after the Welshman. She chased him up the stairs and she caught him on the roof and sent him over. Deontic tutted. There were 2 Welshmen, Mello. Out on the landing, Sentry suddenly shouted, Help me! They all fled the room, dreading what they would find, but Sentry was tearing up at the carpet runners on the stairs, but making no headway. It was often at the top of the stairs. They all looked at him blankly. The priest's stall! He stood, nearly losing his balance on the stairs. Look at this wall. Why do we have to come round such a long mid-landing? There's a whole box here that doesn't add up when you view it from that room. Matt stepped forward. I'll get my toolbox. I have carpet cutters. Mello straightened his grip on Matt's hand, indicating his intention to come with him. Deontic peered back into the room. But they already fetched the carpet up. A hand scuffed at the ragged edge left at the threshold of the door. The carpet bunched stiffly and fell back. She crouched down and eased her fingers under it, but the weight of the fitting held it in place. Sentry froze. The fittings aren't original. They aren't 16th century. He stumbled upwards and it returned into the empty room. His gaze skirted the skirting board at the connecting wall and then down to the floor. And then he shrieked out his triumph. These nails are new! He pointed at the 2 floorboards closest to the wall. Look how clean they are compared to the others. Moreover, look how modern they are. Someone saw the floorboards loose and they just nailed him back into place. My toolbox would really help here. Matt smiled meaningfully at Mello. Mello was staring wide-eyed at the floorboards. Mello? Mello nodded. Yeah. He eyed Sentry carefully. You think there's a hidden room down there? One that was open while the band were in here recording? He watched the Welshman grin smugly. Well done, Sentry. He continued staring. So what's likely to be down there? Could be anything. Could be a hidey hole, could be a concealed chapel. Chapel? For the Catholics, see? Mello blinked slowly. For the Catholics? Beside him, Matt jumped backwards, startled. Fuck, shit! It took all of their willpower to follow his gaze to the doorway, each expecting to see someone standing there staring back. It wasn't. It was the figurine of Mother Mary placed on the threshold, her ceramic eyes fixed on the wall beside Sentry. Mello, just leave her fucking home next time. Mello sighed. Reconvene in the kitchen. Everybody out. Now. I'm starting to lose my voice here. Let me just pause for a quick drink. Right, right, so Rue Bear's nipped out to get a drink. Brooke Stardust is irrationally amused at the fact that Sentry uses the term sentry so often. Then Brooke Stardust is also going, Mary, Mary, what are you doing, you crazy virgin? Oh, I've got every intention of reading to the end of August the 14th. This afternoon or this evening, whatever. Oh, 1 second, I'm going to have to pause the phone drinking. 2 secs.